You've stepped into Avowed, Obsidian's latest RPG where enemies are tough, money is scarce, and your weapons are about as reliable as a wet paper bag. If you want to survive, thrive, and avoid restarting in frustration, follow these top 10 tips and tricks for Avowed. Let's go! Even if you have zero interest in magic, you should always keep a level 1 spellbook in your inventory. The game is full of puzzles, obstacles, and barriers that require elemental magic, and a spellbook conveniently grants access to fire, lightning, and ice spells. Instead of hoarding multiple weapons with different elemental effects, just keep a spellbook handy. You'll need fire to burn cobwebs and vines, lightning to activate switches, and ice to freeze water or create paths. Since every character can use a spellbook without any magic specialization, you don't need to invest points into magic just to get around. And while we're on the topic of environmental obstacles, carry grenades. They're easy to craft and great for blowing up walls. The spellbook takes care of nearly everything else, so don't waste time upgrading multiple elemental weapons when you can solve most problems with one simple book. Breaking down weapons and gear is essential for survival in Avowed. You might think selling weapons is the way to go, but if you don't dismantle them for crafting materials, you'll quickly find yourself dealing 35% less damage against tougher enemies. The game doesn't scale enemy levels to match yours, but their armor tier increases as you progress. If you don't keep your weapons at the right tier, fights become a painful slog. Upgrade only a couple of weapons instead of spreading materials too thin, or you'll find yourself underpowered when it really matters. Selling gear is fine in moderation, but hoarding everything or selling everything will get you in trouble. Breaking down unique weapons you don't need is also a great way to get rare crafting materials, so don't just throw them away. Be selective about what you sell, focus on breaking down melee weapons if you're a melee user, and do the same for ranged weapons. Your future self will thank you. Everyone loves Kai. He's got the iconic voice of Garrus from Mass Effect, and he seems like the perfect first pick for your party, but in reality, he's not the strongest companion in the game. Your first priority should be getting a second party member as soon as possible, because Avowed's early areas were designed with a 3-person party in mind. Marius, the second companion you unlock, might be a bit dull personality-wise, but his treasure highlighting ability makes him valuable. However, the best early companion is Giada, a dedicated healer who becomes essential later on. She joins in Emerald Stare, and her reconstruction healing spell with Overcharge can heal beyond your max HP. Combine that with her barrier spell, and you'll significantly reduce damage taken. She may not have the most exciting personality, but her utility is undeniable. Eventually, you'll probably always want her in your party. She's that good. Money in Avowed is painfully hard to come by, so be very careful with your spending. Vendors love overcharging, and weapons sold in shops are not worth buying because you'll find better ones through exploration. If you blow your money early, you'll struggle later when you actually need to buy crucial supplies. Instead, the only things you should regularly buy are lockpicks and crafting materials. Lockpicks are essential because Avowed doesn't have a lockpicking minigame. You just consume them when opening chests. If you run out, you'll miss out on valuable loot. Vendors sell crafting materials in small amounts, but they're still worth buying when available. Be frugal and don't ignore shops entirely. Just don't waste money on things that won't significantly improve your character. The game is stingy with resources, so sell strategically and spend wisely. Talking to your party members and even the weird voice in your head gives permanent stat boosts. Your companions will eventually offer to train you, giving free +2 stat increases. Since Avowed caps at level 20, these small bonuses make a huge difference. Ignoring these opportunities is like leaving free power-ups on the ground. Kai, the ever-reliable warrior, will enhance your strength, making you hit harder and stand your ground more effectively. Marius, the brooding rogue, boosts stealth, which is ideal for those who prefer a more subtle approach to combat. And Giada, the indispensable healer, increases essence, a must-have for anyone relying on magic or abilities in battle. And while we're on the topic of unexpected stat boosts, don't ignore that mysterious voice in your head. As unsettling as it might be to hear ominous whispers narrating your journey, actually listening to them is surprisingly beneficial. These strange, forgotten memories that the voice unlocks also provide permanent bonuses, including a 10% health increase from the very first memory alone. Need money? Do bounties. This game doesn't have respawning enemies, so you can't farm cash the usual way. The best way to earn gold and unique gear is through bounty boards in major towns. Each bounty marks your target on the map, making them easy to find, and they scale in rewards based on the region. Early on, you'll get 500 gold per bounty, then 750 gold, and the amount keeps increasing. Since Avowed has no reliable gold farming, bounties are the only major way to make money consistently. If you ignore them, you'll find yourself broke and struggling to buy even basic supplies. Keep an eye out for bounty boards and do every bounty you can find. Your future self and your empty wallet will appreciate it. Exploration in Avowed is rewarding, and certain pieces of early game loot can make your life significantly easier. The Wayfarer's Ring found north of the Watcher's Mirror grants plus 20 health and boosts healing from potions. The Boots of the Bricklayer hidden in the Pargrin Cache ruins increase dodge distance, which is way more useful than it sounds. The Ring of Slow Essence hidden behind a secret wall near the ruinous cavern exit slowly regenerates essence, making it great for mages who rely on spells. These items may not seem overpowered, but they'll make the early game much smoother. If you take the time to explore, you'll find hidden treasures that give you an edge. Unlike many RPGs, Avowed has interconnected quests, meaning choices carry over and affect future events. For example, helping Alora escape during the tutorial makes a later refugee quest easier. If you ignore her, you'll likely have to fight smugglers instead of resolving things peacefully. Quest resolutions aren't always predictable, and even small decisions can change future outcomes. This adds depth to side quests, making them worth doing, not just for rewards, but for how they alter the world. Sometimes one quest will make another easier, but the reverse is also true. Certain choices can make future quests harder. Learning spells might not seem necessary when you can cast them from a spellbook, but there's a big hidden advantage. Combining a learned spell with a spellbook automatically upgrades it to level 2. Instead of casting a regular fire spell, learning fire magic and using it alongside a spellbook turns it into dual-wielded flames for double the damage. Level 2 spells don't always mean more damage. Sometimes they add extra effects like the ice spell causing bleed damage. Spellbooks already reduce casting costs and cooldowns, so if you're playing as a mage, there's no reason not to use them. And even if you're not a full-time spellcaster, knowing at least one spell can make your elemental attacks stronger and more efficient. If you're investing in magic, level up spells wisely. Some level 2 versions may cost more resources than they're worth. Enemies don't give much XP, so sometimes running away is smarter than fighting. Experience mainly comes from completing quests, meaning that fighting every enemy you see is a waste of resources. Some encounters, especially in dungeons, can be completely avoided, and trust me, enemies lose interest fast. They don't chase you far. In some cases, avoiding combat even affects quest outcomes. In the Emerald Stair, if you don't attack tree creatures, their queen gives you the quest item peacefully. Fight them, and you're in for a tough battle. Not every fight is worth your time, so pick your battles wisely. Finally, a crucial warning. Avowed does not mark its point of no return. Once you reach the 4th region, Galawan's Tusks, it's easy to stumble into the final mission without realizing it. Once the game ends, there's no post-game content or returning to finish side quests. Be mindful of this when reaching Solar Keep. If you still want to explore complete bounties or finish unfinished quests, do so before progressing too far into the main story. Avowed doesn't always explain things well, but now you have the inside scoop. Keep your gear upgraded, be cheap but smart with money, do bounties, talk to your party, and don't fight every battle just because you can.